The rise and fall of the ocean. An inhale and an exhale. Yin and yang. These are all connected to the moon cycle. This is a video that's going to go over manifesting with the moon. Now, we all know that the moon controls a certain aspect of ourselves, regardless if you know a little bit of folklore or if you want to take this from a modern interpretation. That science even proves that the moon has a certain effect on us. This is where we get the word lunatic from. So I have tried various types of moon manifestation, working with the cycles, and they didn't quite resonate with me. So I developed this 8-part system to help work with those that may not fall in the traditional categories of how to work with the moon cycles. And this has really proved to work for me, and it feels more comfortable with my natural flow. Like how I was saying before with the rise and the fall, like the inhale and the exhale. We inhale a breath and then we give the breath back. This is the cycle, this is the flow, the polarities, the law of polarity, the law of give and take, the law of reciprocity. This is interwoven into the fabric of existence, where we have the yin and the yang, to better understand the flow and how to get into your own personal flow to manifest and bring into existence what you really want. You have to understand this law and how to give and how to take and how to give. Just as you take in a breath, you give that breath right back. Yang. Yang is the masculine aspect. It is aggressive. It's the conscious mind, the ego, earth, light, and fire. On the opposite end of the spectrum, you have yin, the feminine, receptive, the subconscious mind, the dark, air, and the water. So there's equal parts where we have 4 of the yang and 4 of the yin. Is completely equal. We have 13 moon cycles, which is a feminine number, but when you add 1 and 3, that it becomes a masculine energy, and that of the earth. And 4 is the number for physical manifestation. So it's good to have an idea of both the feminine and the masculine and how they're interwoven into the moon cycles. There's 4 elements: earth, air, water, fire. And this is from the alchemical understanding of reality. There's 4 transitionals in between the 4 primaries: warm, moist, cool, and dry. These transitionals are just as important as the primaries. It helps us flow from one transition to the next, instead of almost robotic, like the more so masculine energy. This helps us to obtain both the masculine and the feminine, where you have the 4 corners, if you look at the diagram, of south, north, east, west, and in between where we have the transitionals from each one of the 4. Okay, so let's jump right into the diagram. We will start at number 1, which is the last quarter moon. The first emanation, and this first emanation is fire. And fire is that divine spark. This could be the idea that comes to mind. This could be the impetus of a new project or something that you desire very deeply. And that desire will help build the momentum to keep persisting on until something comes into the 3D reality. In stage 1, we just rest. We're just here. We allow ourselves to just be. It's almost like resting up before a long journey. And that journey is the manifestation. Stage 2, the waning crescent. Warm. This is where we're getting a little more warmer, where we're about to transition into the next phase. Here is where we will start to see that in which we're working to manifest in this cycle. Stage 3, the new moon. This is the clearing phase, where we want to clear out all of those weeds, those negative energies, all of the negative mindset, all of the things that will choke out our seed when we plant it into our subconscious mind. Then we move on to phase 4, the moistened stage. This is the moist soil of the subconscious mind. This is where we plant the seed deep into the subconscious mind and allowing it to take root. Stage 5, the first quarter moon. This is the nourish stage. This is where we take that seed that is buried deep in our subconscious mind and we nourish it. This is where we feel the emotion of that seed. We take the seed and the emotions and we nourish it, almost like how rain and sun beat down on the soil that nourishes that seed. That is what we do with our emotions. We're only allowing high vibrational emotions to nourish that seed. This is the reason why we go through the clearing phase before we plant the seed, because we want to get rid of all of those weeds that will try to choke out the seed. Stage 6, the cool phase. This is the preparation. This is where we go out physically, we go get all of our tools. Those tools that we will use for the next phase, which is the ritual phase. We get all of our tools collected before we go to do our ritual because we want to make sure that we can fully focus our energy when we go into that ritual phase. So I have to take this moment to explain the subconscious mind and the conscious mind more metaphorically. So think of the subconscious mind as a beautiful woman, very dainty, loves to be romanced, that loves to be wined and dined. And the conscious mind is the masculine, which is the ego, and the ego wants to feed the subconscious mind. He may buy her some flowers, some candy, and really love to wine and dine her. After a while, the subconscious mind may be a little put off by the same routine. This is the reason why you would change it up a little bit. So depending on the cycle of the moon, meaning which sign that the moon is taking place, that the full moon is taking place on, you would sort of change that ritual a little bit. You would sort of change that date night a little bit. So the preparation phase is very important, just as important as the ritual phase, because you want to make sure that you get your date, aka the subconscious mind, the right type of flowers, the right type of candy. You want to make sure that you plan out a nice date night for her so that she feels like she's special, so that that seed that you planted in can really flourish and grow. Now we are on phase 7, which is the full moon. The full moon is the illumination, is the fullness. This is the date. This is beyond the date. This is the actual ceremony. This is where you take the conscious mind and the subconscious mind and they merge, they blend. It is the wedding ceremony. And lastly, we go to phase 8. Phase 8 is the dry phase, and this phase is where we have the reception. After we go through the whole ritual, which will be, in this analogy, the ceremony, and now we are at the reception. This is the celebration phase. This is the rejoicing phase. This is where we have come together in union with the conscious and the subconscious mind, and we are celebrating. We're working out of the attitude of gratitude. We're working out of praise and worship. If you want to take it from a biblical standpoint, this is where we are solidifying that union. This is before we embark and go out into the real world. Think about the honeymoon, how elaborate the honeymoon is, how elaborate the ceremony, how elaborate the reception is. This is where you could get together with your friends. This is where you could go out and celebrate, maybe even do something special for yourself, but you want to really work with that energy of rejoicing. So that leads us back to step 1, where we rest again, where we go into ourselves and we allow ourselves to rest before we embark on another cycle. So each cycle we're going to be working with something new. Now it could be under the same category of, if for example you're working with your health, it could be a different aspect of your health, because remember the subconscious mind is layered. So each time that you go through a cycle, you want to change it up a little bit, even if you're working on the same manifestation, but you want to make it a little more spicy, a little different. And that goes further into detail as you get into the different zodiac signs that the new moon and the full moon that they're taking place in. And remember that the moon transitions through each sign every 2.5 days, so that affects things. And if you want to get even more deeper, depending on your personal chart, what is going on, that you can really work with that energy at a higher, deeper magnitude. The number 8 is about as above, so below, as within, so without. But let's back up and move to the number 7. Now the number 7 is a very powerful number. 7, there's 7 days of the week. There's 7 years bad luck, quote unquote, and then there's 7 years where debts are eradicated. And this is a long tradition handed down from the Jewish tradition, that every 7 years that debts were wiped clean, and every 7 years that they will give the land a break. Now I say this all to say that there's 7 phases before we hit the last and 8th phase of celebration. And this is very important because as you get to the phase 8, as above, so below, as within, so without, that you're solidifying the deal, that you're solidifying that which you were working to manifest. Now there's other things that you can do throughout these different phases. Each phase can be associated with a certain crystal that you could carry around with you. Each phase you could have a different affirmation for, or even an entire affirmation for the full moon cycle, depending on which you are working to manifest with. You can create sigils, videos, affirmations. All of this different things helps to work with the subconscious mind, because remember, you want to wine and dine her. Each phase is equally as important as another phase. Rest is just as important as the actual ritual, just as important as setting your intentions and burying the seed in the subconscious mind. All of these phases are very important. So each one of these phases you want to take very seriously. Eventually you will fall into this natural pattern and things will start to unfold easier for you. Thank you so much for your purchase of this course. Make sure that you check out the part 2 of this video.